Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to sift through, fascinating sources, really pulling out the key insights.
That's right. Our goal is always to help you connect the dots, turn all that information overload into real aha moments.
Yeah, guiding you through some, let's be honest, pretty complex ideas, but with clarity, and maybe a few surprises along the way.
Hopefully more than a few.
And today we're diving into something I think everyone feels like it's almost universal these days, isn't it? That feeling of being scattered.
Scattered.
You know it. The
Yeah.
phone buzzing constantly, breaking your focus, or maybe you're replaying regrets, old arguments over and over.
All those waves of shame, maybe. Things that just seem to pull your mind, your awareness, in totally different directions.
Exactly. It's that feeling of being cut off, like cut off from clarity, from yourself almost. Like something whole has just fractured, blurred.
It's like a dissonance, isn't it? And our sources today suggest this isn't just, a bad mood. It's deeper. It's the experience of coherence slipping away.
Coherence slipping away. I like that phrasing. It's so common, but we don't often name it, do we?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
But it really impacts our well-being, our connections, even just our ability to be present. And we're going to explore this universal human thing and its opposite, too, through a really, I think, captivating lens today.
Okay, so what's the premise? What's the lens?
Well, we're looking at how ideas borrowed from, get this, quantum physics, specifically decoherence and recoherence, can actually shed light on our human experience.
Quantum physics. Okay, that sounds potentially complicated. Are we going deep into the math?
No, definitely not. It's not about the equations. It's about the concepts, how these ideas connect to, say, moments of spiritual insight, or even just practical tools you can use every day.
Right, so linking the quantum world to things like, well, the feeling of losing unity, maybe like the story of the fall.
Exactly. And also moments of restoration, of coming back together, like resurrection. These aren't just old stories or abstract science.
They're daily rhythms, things we actually live.
That's the idea we're exploring.
Yeah.
That they're woven into our existence, accessible right now.
Interesting. And where are we getting these ideas from? What are the sources?
Our main guide is a work called Decoherence and Resurrection, Lucidism, Quantum Unity, and the Return of Awareness. It's by Skylar Fiction.
Okay.
And it really does try to bridge these two worlds, quantum theory and spiritual insight. Quite elegantly, actually.
And you mentioned another source.
Yeah. We'll also touch on Fiction's other book, Breath of the Cosmos. It explores Christian pantheism, and it's cited a lot in the main source, so it's relevant background.
Got it. So our mission today is what? To give people a shortcut.
A shortcut, yeah, to understanding this core rhythm of life, falling apart and the being gathered back together again.
Okay. And hopefully uncover some surprising things, maybe challenge some assumptions.
Definitely. And offer some practical takeaways, what the source calls micro-resurrections for your own life.
Micro-resurrections. I'm intrigued. So listeners should get ready for some connections between, well, pretty different fields, right? Subatomic particles and ancient wisdom.
Exactly. But we'll keep it clear, keep it engaging. This isn't just theory. It's about seeing the profound, the pattern, in just ordinary life.
All right, let's dive in. Let's start with that feeling of falling apart. Fragmentation. Our first big idea, the broken mirror and the fall into fragmentation. Where do we begin with this? Physics.
Yeah, let's start with the physics, with decoherence. See, in the quantum world, things aren't always neat and tidy. Particles can exist in these states of, well, coherence.
Meaning what exactly? Coherence.
It means they're unified, entangled. They actually hold multiple possibilities all at the same time. Think of a perfectly still pond. A single ripple starts. Before it hits anything, it's pure potential, right? It could go anywhere, be any shape.
Okay. So it's not just one definite thing, but it holds all the potential things it could be simultaneously.
That's it. A state of pure, undivided potentiality. Exquisite balance, like you said. But that balance is delicate. So something breaks it.
Exactly. That's decoherence. The breaking. This quantum unity dissolves when the system interacts with its environment. With anything, really. Noise, measurement, just interaction.
And what happens then? That wave of potential.
It collapses. It collapses into what we see and experience, the fixed, fragmented, classical world. The world of separate things.
So the potential hardens. It becomes limited. One specific reality instead of all possibilities.
Precisely. Going back to that ripple, imagine it hits the edge of the pond. Or a rock.
It breaks up into little droplets, separate splashes.
Exactly. The unified waste potential is gone. Now you have individual droplets, each with its own fixed path. limited, no longer holding all possibilities.
That's a really powerful image for how it feels when we fragment, when our focus shatters or we feel pulled apart.
It is. And the key insight, really pushed forward by physicists like Wojciech Zurek.
Zurek, okay.
Yeah, his work was pivotal. Before him, decoherence was often seen as a problem, something getting in the way, especially for things like quantum computers. Right, like a glitch in the system.
What Zurek showed, it's not a failure, it's normal. It's how the quantum world, the world of possibilities, actually gives rise to our world, the stable, predictable, classical world.
So decoherence isn't the enemy of reality, it's the creator of the reality we experience.
In a fundamental way, yes. It's the process by which potential becomes actual, the universe sort of picking one outcome from many. But the price.
The price is losing that initial wholeness, that coherence.
Exactly. The price of having a world of distinct things is the loss of that underlying unity.
Wow, okay. And the sources draw a parallel here, a pretty striking one, to the biblical story of the fall.
They do. It's not a one-to-one mapping, obviously, but a really potent conceptual mirror. Think about Eden in the story.
Okay, Adam and Eve.
They start in a state of, well, profound coherence.
Mm-hmm.
They're described as naked but unashamed.
Meaning totally open, no hiding, unified within themselves and with everything.
That's the image. Whole, resonant unity, like a quantum system in perfect superposition, holding all potential, no friction, no division.
That idea of naked but unashamed, it implies zero self-consciousness, zero inner conflict, just pure presence.
Precisely. An unbroken resonance.
Yeah.
Belonging. So their choice, eating the fruit. The sources reinterpret this
Not just as disobedience.
not just as disobedience,
Yeah.
but as a fundamental phase transition.
Whoa, okay. A phase transition, like water turning to ice. That
Yeah.
feels different from the usual interpretation of sin and punishment. What does that imply?
It implies a fundamental change in their state of being. It's described as the entry of noise into unity, the moment that initial coherence fractures and fragmentation begins.
Noise enters unity.
And Breath of the Cosmos puts it beautifully. The child becomes ashamed. That shame isn't, in this view, God withdrawing love. It's a signal.
A signal of what?
A signal that their perception has shifted, that the resonance is broken, the unified field that held them. It's fractured from their perspective.
So the consequence isn't an external punishment, but an internal shift. A change in their actual experience of reality. Does that change how we think about, say, original sin?
It really does. It shifts the focus inward. It's less about a legal judgment and more about, a change in their existential state. The clear resonance of Eden decoheres into the tangled noise of exile.
Awareness fragments. Trust turns to fear.
Exactly. Just like decoherence produces our classical world of separate objects, the fall produces the ordinary human condition. Scattered, reactive, forgetful of unity, we feel inherently divided.
So original sin isn't something we inherit like a debt, but it's the very condition of being born into this fragmented state, having lost or forgotten that Edenic coherence.
That's the argument. It makes our scattered attention, our inner conflicts, feel less like personal failings and more like, well, the human condition, the result of that initial phase transition.
That actually resonates. It feels less like blame and more like physics almost. But isn't that a bit bleak, just stuck in fragmentation?
But here's the twist. It's not presented as just a story of loss. Decoherence, the scattering, it actually creates the possibility for new things.
Like what?
Like freedom, history, story itself. Think about it. In perfect unity, there's no change, no story to tell. To live outside the garden, yes, it's to live with fragmentation, but it's also where the journey began.
The journey to
find coherence again. If Eden was coherence and the fall was decoherence, then resurrection isn't about escaping this world. It's about rejoining. It's the promise that the field, that unity, can be remembered, even from here.
So the breaking apart actually sets the stage for a conscious coming back together, a return that's more meaningful because it was loss.
Precisely. The loss creates the space for the seeking, for the return. Which leads us to wonder, if we are fragmented, is that original unity just gone? Or does something linger?
Like an echo, a whisper.
Exactly. An enduring whisper.
Which brings us to our next section, entanglement and the memory of unity. Does that wholeness leave a trace?
Yeah, I like that framing, the enduring whisper, because we do have those moments, don't we? Even when we feel totally scattered, those inexplicable connections. Absolutely. Like meeting someone new, but you feel this instant recognition, like you've known them forever. that deep resonance.
Or thinking intensely about someone and then, bam, they call you. How does that happen?
Or even, as the source points out, the feeling of grief. Sometimes it's not just emptiness, is it? It feels like a presence, but stretched thin, an invisible connection still there.
These moments, they do feel like whispers, hints that maybe separation isn't the whole story, maybe unity isn't completely lost.
It lingers. And what's really fascinating is that quantum physics offers this uncanny parallel, a concept called quantum entanglement.
Entanglement. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around a lot. What's the core idea and why is it so relevant here?
All right, it gets used loosely sometimes, but in physics, it's specific and profound. It means two or more particles can become linked, so linked that their fates are intertwined no matter how far apart they get.
Intertwined how?
If you measure something about one particle, say its spin direction, you instantly know the spin of the other one. Instantly. Even if it's light years away, their states are no longer independent.
That's the spooky action at a distance Einstein talked about, right? It seems to break the rules of how information should travel.
It certainly seems to defy our classical intuition about locality. Yeah. It suggests this deep, non-local connection, like an underlying fabric holding them together.
And this isn't just theory. It's been tested.
Oh, absolutely. Rigorously. For decades. Starting with Elaine Aspect's experiments in the 80s, which were groundbreaking.
Right.
You have Anton Zeilinger, who won a Nobel Prize for his work, confirming it further over larger distances with more particles.
Okay.
And more recently, there have been what they call loophole-free tests, like by Hansen and others in 2015, that basically slam the door on any classical explanation. Entanglement is real.
So the experiments consistently show, what was the phrase? Correlation persists where separation should reign.
Exactly. Yeah. Which leads to this profound implication, as the source puts it. The universe remembers when things have touched.
The universe remembers. Wow. That lands hard. It suggests a level of interconnectedness that, well, that we just don't perceive most of the time.
It really does. So if decoherence mirrors the fall, the fragmentation, then entanglement feels like that lingering echo of Eden, that memory of original unity, a thread that wasn't broken.
A persistent connection in the cosmic tapestry. That's a powerful parallel. So after the fall, after coherence broke, they felt separate, exiled. But something remained.
Something of Eden lingers.
Yeah.
And Breath of the Cosmos says, the field remembers us, even if we no longer remember it.
The field. Can we think of that as just the underlying unity, the interconnectedness that was always there?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to grasp it. The ground of being, the shared reality beneath the surface appearances. It remembers.
And this isn't a new idea only found in physics, is it? Spiritual traditions seem to talk about this too, this inherent but maybe forgotten connection.
Absolutely. It's all over mystical traditions. Think of Augustine. Our hearts were restless until they rest in you. That deep longing for reunion.
Or Meister Eckhart saying God is closer to us than we are to ourselves.
Exactly. Pointing to that intimate indwelling presence we've just lost touch with, even Jesus' prayer in John's Gospel.
That they may be one as we are one.
Right. You can read that through this language of entanglement, not just as a hope for the future, but as an affirmation of an existing unity, a unity waiting to be realized.
Okay, so if this field, this unity, remembers us, how do we remember it? How do we tune into these echoes, this enduring whisper in our own fragmented lives? This is where Lucidism comes in.
Exactly. Lucidism offers a practical way to start noticing this hidden reality. Lucidity itself is defined as that moment you realize, I am aware that I am aware.
I am aware that I am aware. Okay.
It sounds simple, maybe even circular, but it's a key shift. It creates a space. It loosens that illusion that you are your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions. You become the observer of them.
Can you give some concrete examples? How does that look in just, everyday life?
Sure. Say, a wave of anger surges up. Instead of being completely swept away by it, acting it out immediately.
You notice it.
You notice it. You recognize, anger is here. There's a subtle space. You realize you're not identical to the anger. You're the awareness seeing the anger.
Or maybe with anxiety, instead of being consumed by worry.
You feel the tightness, the racing thoughts, but you sense a part of you that's just witnessing it, not drowning in it. These aren't escapes. They're glimpses.
Glimpses of entanglement. Reminders that even our scattered parts are still connected to something larger.
Exactly. Lucidity doesn't create the unity. It just lets you see it. It reveals the field that was always there, hidden beneath the noise of our fragmented experience.
And this has got to have ethical implications, right? If we're all entangled, if the universe remembers, Our choices can't just be isolated.
This is huge. Absolutely crucial. If entanglement is real, then yeah, your choices aren't just private little events. They're ripples across the field.
Ripples affect
Everything. Everyone. To wound someone else isn't just harming them. In this view, it's an act of decoherence for yourself, too. It contributes to the fragmentation of the whole field.
and the opposite, acts of love, compassion.
Those become acts of recoherence. They actively help restabilize the field, restore unity, not just nice gestures, but fundamental contributions to wholeness.
So when Jesus says, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me, that's not just a metaphor anymore.
In this framework, it's read as an ontological fact, a description of how things actually are in an entangled reality. What you do to one part affects the whole, because the parts aren't truly separate.
That's a radically different way to think about ethics, an entangled ethic.
It really is. It shifts morality from just following rules to understanding the energetic impact of our actions on the shared field of being.
So how do we cultivate this awareness? How do we live this entangled ethic? Are there practices?
Yes, the sources suggest some really interesting ways to train ourselves to notice this. One is called entangled prayer.
Entangled prayer, how does that work?
Instead of thinking of someone you love, or even someone difficult, as being over there, separate from you.
You imagine sending thoughts to them.
Right. Instead of that, you sit quietly and feel them as already within the same field, breathing the same air, held in the same space. It's less about sending, more about recognizing the connection that's already there.
So it's shifting from petition, maybe, to presence. Recognizing an existing unity rather than trying to bridge a gap. How might that feel different?
It can feel, well, less effortful in a way. Instead of pushing something out, you're settling into something that already is. There might be a sense of warmth, maybe a quiet dissolving of the feeling of separation. Even with someone difficult, it's acknowledging that shared ground of being, the same life animating you both. It's an inner shift.
That makes sense, a shift in perception. What else?
Another idea is about daily encounters. When you're walking around, maybe in a crowd, instead of seeing strangers, separate individuals,
You try to see them differently.
you try to perceive each person as a fellow resonance in the field. Not in a weird way, but just acknowledging that underlying shared reality. Shifting from seeing random encounters to continuous participation.
Seeing the shared hum beneath the surface noise.
Exactly. And then there's a reflective practice, quantum journaling.
Quantum journaling. Okay, what's that?
At the end of the day, you just jot down moments where you felt an unexplained connection, a surprising resonance, a moment where that quiet hum of entanglement seemed noticeable beneath the usual noise.
So you're training yourself to notice it more, making it conscious.
Precisely. Mapping your own inner landscapes of unity, making those whispers less fleeting.
These practices,
Yeah.
they could really change how you experience the world day to day, couldn't they? Moving from feeling isolated to feeling participant.
That's the potential, yes. Entanglement reminds us separation isn't final. Unity is always there, vibrating underneath.
And lucidity then becomes the key to accessing that, to remembering.
It's the pathway. Which brings us right to our next point. If decoherence was the fall, and entanglement is the memory, then lucidity is how we achieve these micro-resurrections. It's the path to recoherence.
Okay, so if the field remembers, but we forget, how do we remember? How do we, caught up in the daily grind, actually rejoin that unity? You're saying the answer is lucidity.
That's what the source posits, yes. And crucially, lucidity isn't some huge dramatic event, usually. It starts small, with what are called micro-recoherences.
Micro-recoherences,
Okay.
tiny restorations of wholeness.
Exactly. Tiny, but really significant moments where you bring things back into alignment right there in the middle of ordinary life.
But like, okay, I'm feeling really angry, but then there's that split second where I realize, okay, I'm feeling anger, but I'm not just anger. There's a bit of space.
That's a perfect example. Or you're about to snap at someone and you just pause. You recognize, hang on, I have a choice here.
Yeah.
You don't just react automatically.
It's that little flicker of awareness, isn't it? The thought that says, I'm not just this thought. I'm the one noticing it.
That's it, precisely. Those are the micro-recoherences. Small acts of weaving the scattered threads back together. Little awakenings inside the dream.
And this connects, surprisingly, to quantum biology. You're saying life itself does this, resists fragmentation.
It's a really striking parallel. Research shows that life, at the quantum level, often depends on maintaining coherence, keeping quantum systems unified long enough to do amazing things.
Like what kind of amazing thing?
Well, take photosynthesis. How plants convert sunlight into energy.
Okay.
The energy packets, called excitons, need to get from where light is captured to the reaction center incredibly efficiently. And it turns out they don't just wander randomly. They explore all possible paths at once, like a quantum wave.
All paths simultaneously to find the best one.
Yeah, this quantum coherence allows near-perfect energy transfer. Almost no energy lost as heat. It's stunningly efficient because it leverages that quantum unity.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Migratory birds navigating. How do they fly thousands of miles so accurately?
Good question.
Evidence suggests they use entangled electrons in their eyes. These electrons act like a quantum compass, sensing the Earth's magnetic field. The coherence lasts just long enough for them to navigate.
A quantum compass. Based on entanglement.
And DNA repair, too. Even DNA repair, yeah.
Yeah.
It needs to be fast and precise. It seems to use quantum tunneling particles passing through barriers they classically shouldn't be able to cross. This speeds things up dramatically.
So life is constantly fighting against decoherence, against falling apart into randomness. It actively tries to hold coherence together.
That's the analogy the source draws. Against the constant threat of decoherence, life resists. It seeks to hold together. So does the soul.
So does the soul. So practicing lucidity is like imitating that natural wisdom.
In a way, yes. Each time you choose awareness, each act of lucidity, you're delaying fragmentation. You're actively restoring coherence within yourself.
So when I pause and take a deep breath before reacting, it's not just calming down. It's literally rejoining the field of awareness, reestablishing coherence.
That's the idea. And when you choose compassion instead of judgment, you're collapsing possibility into a more coherent reality. You're shaping the field towards unity.
So lucidity isn't about escaping the world. It's about realignment within it, finding harmony within the noise.
Precisely. Bringing your inner state back into resonance with that underlying unity. Acting from wholeness, not fragments.
This really highlights the role of the observer, doesn't it? That seer beyond the scene we talked about from Breath of the Cosmos.
It does. The observer is that awareness through which potential collapses into reality. But Lucidism frames the observer not as some fixed thing you have or don't have.
Well, it's a skill, something you practice.
Exactly, a functional center of experience that you cultivate. And as you practice being the observer, just noticing yourself, you start to reveal that underlying field that fragmentation hides.
To wake up inside your life is to become the observer.
Yes, and by doing that, you start to weave the scattered threads back together. You participate in creating coherence.
Okay, so how do we train this? How do we practice becoming the observer, cultivating these micro-recoherences? What are the tools?
The sources offer some really practical, simple tools. The foundational one is that loop. Pause, perceive, choose.
Pause, perceive, choose. 10 seconds. You called it resurrection in miniature. Let's apply it again. Say I'm scrolling social media, something makes me angry, defensive. That urge to just lash out. How does the loop work there?
Okay, perfect example. The pause is crucial. Stop. Before you type, before you react, just 10 seconds. Interrupt the automatic decoherence.
Okay, stop. Then perceive. What am I perceiving? Just the anger.
You perceive the anger, yes, but as an event. Notice the feeling in your body, maybe jaw, tension, heat. Notice the thoughts demanding justice or whatever. Ask, what's really going on here? Is this reaction actually serving me? The observer steps back. You create space.
So acknowledge it, but don't fuse with it. Create distance.
Exactly. And then from that space, you choose. Choose the action that increases lucidity, agency, compassion. Maybe it's putting the phone down. Maybe it's asking a question instead of attacking. Maybe it's just breathing and letting it go. You choose awareness over reaction.
Collapsing possibility into a coherent response, not a reactive one.
That's it. It interrupts decoherence, restores the observer, guides coherent action. It sounds small, 10 seconds, but over time it rewires your responses.
It does sound hard at first, breaking those ingrained habits. What else helps?
It is hard at first. That's why practice matters. Another tool is gentle labeling. When thoughts or emotions feel overwhelming, worry, regret, whatever,
You just name them.
softly, gently, non-judgmentally, not to analyze, just to acknowledge. Thinking, worrying, planning, sadness.
How does just naming it help?
It reveals them as passing events in your awareness, not as your identity. Labeling creates distance. It lets the field of awareness hold them without you getting totally scattered or swept away. It's like,
Rolling away the stone.
exactly, rolling away the stone from the tomb of identifying with every thought and feeling. It creates space, freedom,
I can see that. Okay, and the third tool.
reality checks. Basically, asking yourself simple, open questions throughout the day.
Fight.
What am I assuming right now? Is that really true? What else could be true here? Am I stuck in one story, or can I see other possibilities?
So questioning our own narratives, how does that build coherence?
It loosens the grip of those rigid beliefs and assumptions that keep us stuck in fragmentation. It invites flexibility, openness, turns closed, fixed stories back into open fields of possibility. It challenges the assumptions that cause decoherence.
These aren't just tricks then. You said they're daily resurrections.
That's the framing. Each pause, each label, each reality check is a small rising, a rising from the tomb of compulsion, of fixed narratives, a reminder that fragmentation isn't the end of the story.
Lucidity allows us to remember the field, the unity that remembers us.
Yes, connecting us back, breath by breath. Which brings us to maybe the biggest reframe. What does all this mean for resurrection itself? That leads us to the rhythm of rising. Resurrection as daily recoherence.
Okay, this feels like a really pivotal point. Reframing resurrection. Usually we think of it as, well, a singular event, right? The empty tomb, Jesus rising, a historical miracle.
That's the common understanding, absolutely. A unique event, proof of power, maybe a promise for the future, a historical anchor.
But these sources are suggesting something else, something broader, more dynamic.
Exactly. They ask, what if resurrection is also a pattern that repeats constantly? In every life, in every single moment, we manage to rejoin coherence.
So rising again isn't just a story to believe in, but a practice to live right now.
That's the radical proposal. It shifts resurrection from a historical anomaly to a continuous present possibility.
Resurrection as recoherence. How does Breath of the Cosmos put that?
It puts it very directly. Jesus is the recoherence, the wave rejoining the ocean, the logos re-entangling with the source.
Wow. Okay, unpack that. The logos re-entangling with the source. What does that mean for someone not familiar with that language? Is it about reconnection? Alignment?
Precisely. Logos here means something like the divine reason, the underlying order, the creative principle of reality. So the logos re-entangling with the source, it's the ultimate reconnection, the perfect alignment of the individual, the manifested with the universal source. Unity made manifest.
It's the highest form of coherence expressed.
Exactly. So this image shifts resurrection from being a one-off miracle to being part of the very structure of reality. Just like decoherence scatters, recoherence gathers. It restores resonance, pulls the divided back into alignment.
So saying Christ is risen, it becomes more than a historical statement.
It becomes a statement about possibility itself. It means coherence is possible. It means fragmentation is not the final word. It speaks to the ongoing potential within reality for wholeness to be restored.
That's huge. And Lucidism brings this huge cosmic idea right down to earth, into our daily lives.
That's the power of it. Every moment of lucidity, every tiny act of awareness becomes a micro-resurrection, a small rolling away of the stone from whatever binds us.
So if I'm in an argument and I pause, breathe, notice my anger instead of just lashing out, I have, in a small way, risen.
Yes, risen from the compulsion to react blindly. Or if you're stuck in a worry loop, maybe about money, and you consciously choose to shift your focus maybe to gratitude, just for a moment.
You've risen from that mental tomb.
Exactly. Risen from that entanglement in compulsive thought. Resurrection isn't just for the graveyard. It's every act of lucidity that restores the field of awareness.
At the kitchen table, in a meeting, just listening.
All of it. These ordinary moments become sites of profound transformation.
So resurrection becomes both universal, because the field is always there, and incredibly intimate, because it happens in our everyday lives.
Beautifully put. Universal and intimate. Accessible to anyone through awareness, regardless of belief.
And the ethical implications. If resurrection is recoherence, what does that do to our idea of morality?
It transforms it. Ethics stops being just a list of rules to follow. It becomes the practice of sustaining coherence in a fragmented world.
Okay, so good actions are ones that increase coherence.
Exactly. Actions that increase lucidity, expand our sense of agency, deepen compassion, those foster recoherence, they build unity.
Damnful actions.
They do the opposite. They trap awareness, they diminish agency, they sever compassion, they deepen decoherence, pull us further into fragmentation.
So the ethical question isn't just, is this right or wrong in the abstract?
It becomes much more immediate, more relational. Does this choice bring more coherence, more unity, or does it scatter things further? For me, for others, for the whole situation.
That's the new compass, and entanglement is the map.
Entanglement provides that underlying reality. Remember, to love another is to stabilize the field. To wound another is to deepen decoherence. Our actions ripple. They change the field.
So again, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. It's not just poetic, it's describing the physics of an entangled reality.
That's the radical reading, yes, an ontological fact. Because we are interconnected, acts towards any part reverberate through the whole. Forgiving someone.
Restores coherence in the web that includes both of you.
Exploiting someone.
Tears the fabric that holds the community together. It deepens fragmentation for everyone.
And lucidity is key here. The observer pauses and asks, does this path lead to clarity or confusion? Freedom or compulsion? Compassion or contempt?
Physics translated into ethics. Micro-resurrections in awareness leading to macro-resurrections in community.
Exactly. Building a more coherent, just world, one lucid choice at a time.
Can you give some really concrete examples of this entangled love in action, daily interactions?
Sure. Think about speech. Honesty spoken with gentleness, from awareness, that builds coherence, trust. Lying, carelessness, that fractures it, introduces noise.
Okay. What about conflict?
Listening lucidly. Really hearing the other person, not just waiting to talk, that opens up space. Agency for both. Reacting blindly. That just deepens the entanglement and harm.
And power, how does that play out?
Using influence transparently, with integrity, strengthens trust, community coherence, manipulation. That corrodes coherence, breeds suspicion, destroys unity.
So ethics becomes this act of participation, entangled love, not about reward or punishment, but about joining the resurrection of the field itself.
That's the core idea. Every lucid act of compassion contributes to the coherence of the whole.
Which means resurrection isn't just personal salvation.
It's collective stabilization. We don't rise alone. In this kingdom of lucidity, we rise together, which naturally leads us to ask how? How do we actually do this? How do we embody it?
Right. If ethics is entangled love, if resurrection is this daily rhythm,
Right.
how do we embody it? How do we train ourselves to live this way, breath by breath, not just as an idea, but as reality?
This brings us back to the practical tools. The foundation, again, is that simple loop. Pause, perceive, be, choose.
Resurrection in miniature. Let's take a different scenario. Not high conflict, just dullness. You're feeling sluggish, distracted on autopilot. How does the loop bring a micro-resurrection there?
Good one. The pause is just stop. Put down the phone, step away from the screen, halt the mindless movement, just 10 seconds. Break the spell of autopilot, that low-grade decoherence.
Okay, stop. Then perceive. What am I perceiving if nothing dramatic is happening?
You perceive your immediate sensory reality. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the air temperature. Hear the background sounds. Feel your breath. You're simply returning to what is actually happening right now instead of being lost in thought. The observer wakes up.
Okay. And choose. What's the choice then?
The choose might be very simple. Choose to do the next small thing with awareness. Walk to the kitchen consciously. Take 3 deliberate breaths before checking email again. Choose presence over mindlessness. You infuse the moment with awareness, restoring coherence.
So the pause interrupts the scattering. Perceive returns to the observer. Choose acts from coherence.
That's the cycle. Simple, but profound when practiced consistently. It retrains the heart and mind towards unity.
What are some other practices to deepen this embodiment, make it more of a constant rhythm?
Well, we can deepen gentle labeling. Remember, softly naming thoughts and feelings. Thinking, feeling, planning.
Right, creating distance, revealing them as events.
Exactly. If you find yourself analyzing the labels, just come back to the raw sensation. The goal is the space, not perfect categorization. It's that constant rolling away of the stone from identifying with everything that passes through.
Okay. And reality checks. How do we deepen that?
Reality checks become an ongoing curiosity. Not just, what am I assuming? But, is this thought absolutely true? What's the evidence? How would this look from a totally different viewpoint? What else could possibly be true here?
So constantly questioning the rigidity of our own stories.
Yes, keeping awareness flexible, open, turning those closed loops into open fields.
What else helps us embody this connection?
Awareness walks, walking slowly, consciously noticing each step, the breath, sounds, sensations, feeling yourself part of the world.
Feeling entangled, the air, the ground, the trees.
Exactly, feeling that connection. Every walk becomes a rejoining with the field, grounding you in that shared reality.
That sounds incredibly grounding. And entangled prayer as a regular practice.
Yes, entangled prayer. Regularly sitting and bringing someone to mind, loved one, difficult person, and feeling them already within the same field, the same breath.
Recognizing the shared unity, not trying to force a connection.
It's about that recognition. noticing the shared humanity, the shared life. Even if the feeling isn't warm and fuzzy, the intention tunes you to that underlying unity.
And finally, that reflective practice.
Quantum journaling. Consistently, maybe daily, noting down one moment where lucidity broke through. A pause, a moment of clarity, compassion, connection.
Naming the micro-resurrection.
Exactly. Naming them helps stabilize them, makes coherence more available tomorrow. It's like tending the garden of unity within you.
These really aren't complicated techniques, are they? They're just invitations.
Yeah.
Invitations to live resurrection now.
That's precisely it. They remind us rising again doesn't need a miracle, only attention. Each practice is a rehearsal of coherence, training us to notice the unity that's always here.
They embody the mystery rather than explaining it away. We participate in it.
To practice lucidity is to participate in resurrection, not as dogma, but as a daily rhythm, a continuous unveiling.
Wow, this has been quite a journey. From feeling scattered to seeing resurrection in a pause. Let's try and wrap this up. Bring it all home.
Okay. We started with that feeling of fragmentation, right? The
Yeah.
buzz, the shame, the inner exile. We saw its reflection in physics as decoherence unity scattering into fragments. And in the story of the fall, innocence breaking into shame, Eden lost to exile.
Two narratives, one theme. Wholeness unraveling, unity dissolving into division.
But then we saw that unity isn't truly lost. Physics shows us entanglement. The memory of connection persists. The field remembers, even if we forget.
And faith whispers it too, that
Mhm.
they may be one. Entanglement is like Eden's echo, still vibrating beneath the surface.
And Lucidism gives us the tools, the practical ways to live this truth. Every pause, every moment of awareness, every act of compassion, a micro-resurrection, a daily recoherence.
Humble awakenings, rolling away the stone, bit by bit, in ordinary life.
To forgive is to rise. To listen is to rise. To become lucid, even for a breath, is to rise.
And Jesus as the recoherence, the wave rejoining the ocean. Resurrection isn't just history, it's a living rhythm.
Exactly. We fall apart, we get scattered, but we can rejoin, be gathered again. And it's not solitary, it ripples out. Living lucidly helps the whole field remember itself.
So life is this oscillation. Decoherence and recoherence, falling apart and being gathered. The invitation isn't to escape it.
But to awaken within it, to become a conscious participant in that rhythm.
The field does not forget. Unity is always humming beneath the surface, just waiting for lucidity, for our attention to reveal it.
So the question for you listening is, what would it mean? What would it mean for you to go through your day, your interactions, your choices, really believing that every conscious act shifts reality towards unity? Not just for you, but for everyone.
Living as if your choices really are ripples across an entangled field.
To rise is to remember. To remember is to rejoin. And to rejoin is to live as if every breath, every choice, every moment of awareness is an act of resurrection.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this gives you a new way, maybe a profound way, to look at your own experiences of falling apart and being gathered together again.
Until next time, keep diving deep. Keep looking for the extraordinary right there in the everyday.